Good morning, staff and students. We are your 2021 school captains, Eden and Flora, and we would like to welcome you all to our Alstonville High School Remembrance Day commemoration of 2020.
At 11 a.m. on the 11th of November 1918, the guns fell silent on the Western Front, signalling the end of World War I. To mark this Armistice Day, on the 11th of November each year, we pause to remember those who have served and died in wars, conflicts and peacekeeping operations.
For more than 100 years, Australians have served in conflicts and other operations spanning the globe. As part of this history, 2020 marks a significant anniversary in Australia's involvement in conflict. It is now 75 years since the end of World War II, a conflict that raged for 6 years and claimed the lives of over 20 million service personnel and over 30 million civilians globally. Australia lost just over 30,000 service personnel in this conflict and another 50,000 either injured or taken prisoner. Many of these prisoners were captured by the Japanese forces, and they experienced conditions that took a lasting physical and mental toll. Stories of courage, mateship, and endurance were mixed with stories of suffering, torture, and agonizing loss.
The official surrender of the Imperial Japanese Army on the 15th of August 1945, shortly after the USA had dropped 2 nuclear weapons on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, was greeted with mass celebrations across Australia and the world. However, for many Australian soldiers, this time of celebration was also a time of sombre reflection and reliving the trauma that they had experienced. In an age where the mental health of service personnel was not recognised as an issue and returned soldiers were often just thrown straight back into what was no longer a normal life, this had many negative impacts. Groups such as Legacy and the RSL found that the suffering of war continued for many returned personnel and the burden on family and loved ones was often immense.
On this day, we reflect on the significance of the end of this conflict, but also on the ongoing nature of the trauma and suffering caused by conflict of all kinds. 2020 has demonstrated the impacts that isolation and sudden change can have on people, and it is a reminder that for all service personnel, the feelings of being disconnected can be part of their experiences of serving their country. This is another reason why Remembrance Day is so important and why the lessons of war should not be forgotten.
This year, although we are unable to commemorate Remembrance Day in the usual manner, we are still going to hear the Remembrance Day address delivered by the President of the Alstonville RSL, Mr. Rob Fry. This will be followed by the remainder of our commemoration.
Originally, the 11th of November was named Armistice Day for the remembrance of those who died in the First World War. This conflict had mobilised over 70 million people and left between 9 and 13 million dead, and as many as 1/3 of those with no known grave. After the Second World War, Great Britain proposed that the 11th of November be renamed Remembrance Day to commemorate all persons who died in both wars, and this was adopted by all the countries who observed the day. In 1997, Governor-General Sir William Deane issued a proclamation formally declaring 11 November to be Remembrance Day, urging all Australians to observe 1 minute silence at 11 a.m. on 11 November each year to remember those who died or suffered for Australia's cause in all wars and armed conflicts. So how is this significant to the people of Alstonville-Wallingbar area? If you have visited the War Memorial located in Elizabeth Ann Brown Park, Alstonville, you will note there are 135 names on the memorial panels of those who died in the First World War, 100, and the Second World War, 35. All of them are buried overseas and have their names also recorded on the Roll of Honour at the Australian War Memorial, Canberra. Our memorial is therefore the only location families have to commemorate their loved ones who paid the supreme sacrifice in the service of Australia. We know about Paddy Bugden VC and the association he had to Alstonville and the local area. But do we know about the other names on the memorial? One of those names had significance to my family. Is 133 Lance Corporal Frank Slade. He enlisted into the 14th Light Horse Regiment, A Squadron, on the 29th of December 1915. He was transferred to the 49th Battalion and was killed on the 7th of June 1917 at Messines, Belgium, on the first day of the Third Battle of Ypres. His name is located on the Menin Gate at Ypres, along with the other 6,177 Australians who served in the Ypres campaign and who have no known grave. Here's the great uncle of my wife and who her father is named after. He was a farmer from Rouse when he enlisted. In 2014, we had the opportunity to visit Ypres, and Kay was selected as a member of our tour group to lay a wreath at the Menin Gate during their last post ceremony. It was very moving for both of us. So you can see why the memorial is important to the Slade family and for all those other 134 families who have relatives named on it. It is the only location within the area where we can come and reflect and remember them. It is also the reason why we, members of the RSL of Australia, as the custodians of the memorial, hold our commemorative services to remember them, and also our mates who served and who were killed in action or have subsequently passed away. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. In a moment, we will ask you all to please stand quietly in whatever venue you are watching this. The Ode of Remembrance will then be read by the Honorary Secretary of the Alstonville RSL, Mr. John Gordon, and the last post will be played. This is played to signify the end of the day's activities and also to lay a soldier to rest. We then ask you to observe a minute's silence, which will be followed by the playing of the rouse to signify the beginning of a new day. Please stand now.
They went with song to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
That marks the end of our Remembrance Day commemoration for 2020. Thank you for your cooperation. Students, please wait for your teacher's instructions.